It's my pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Connie Whitman. Known for her high energy, passionate, heart-centered, and enthusiastic approach to teaching and coaching, Connie Whitman has been the CEO of Whitman & Associates, LLC for over 20 years, helping ambitious business owners, leaders, and sales teams build powerhouse organizations. A three-time #1 international best-selling author of her book, ESP, Easy Sales Process, Seven Steps to Sales Success, speaker, podcast host, and influencer, Connie's inspired teaching, transformational tools, and content ensure that business owners and salespeople grow their revenue streams through enhanced communication skills. As a podcast host, she is thrilled to share inspiring content on her 2 weekly international podcasts, The Heart-Centered Sales Leader and Enlightenment of Change. That's the formal part of the intro. I'd like to offer my own observations of Connie's inspired and transformational teaching. I've known Connie for almost 20 years in multiple capacities. I first met Connie as a client. She was a consultant brought in by my previous employer to help develop the sales skills of our branch teams. And our professional relationship after a couple of years developed into a very close friendship, which I adore. And since 2016, I've had the incredible privilege of working with Connie as a colleague on the faculty of New Jersey Bankers Emerging Leaders Program and going forward in the newly formed Financial Leaders Institute. So as you can see, I've known Connie from different angles, different perspectives, and no matter what angle you view her from, it's always the same story. She's just an amazing person to work with. There are many sales consultants out there who talk a good game, but Connie consistently delivers the real results you're looking for to increase and improve your sales conversations. Connie really successfully transformed my previous employer's sales and coaching culture. I know Connie likes to use examples and stories. I'll give a story of one particular young lady I'll call Anne. Anne was a customer service rep, and she has a very nervous sort of personality and disposition, very high strung. And it was hard for her to close the deal. She was not comfortable wrapping up those conversations, asking for business and whatnot. I saw her improve by leaps and bounds working with Connie. And she became what I like to call a Connie Whitman disciple, because I would go to the branch and see her, and she would tell me stories about things that Connie said and how she believed in Connie, and Connie's teachings were helping her move her game along and do better in her job. And it was visible and observable, the changes in her. So truly a great success story. And I think the thing that really sets Connie apart is her individual attention to each person she works with. When she's working with you, you feel like you're her only client, and she's giving you 1,000% of everything she has. And that's really Connie in a nutshell. She makes you feel like you are the center of her universe. And without further ado, because you didn't come here to hear me talk, you came here to hear Connie. Here is the amazing Connie Whitman.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so funny to hear people express how they feel about you and how you show up. And it's the coolest thing ever to hear, those heartfelt kind of reactions. And I do know who you're talking about with Anne. And yes, introvert, nervous. She had lost her husband when I first met her. So she was in a really, really tough situation. And working with her was truly a pleasure. And, it's when, Allie, anytime you asked her to do something, she would go and she would do it because she trusted both you and I. But that execution, for me, it's always about let's get those results, right? So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I love you, my friend, and I'm always honored that you were willing to do that introduction for me. So thank you so much. And I just want to look quickly. I have my computer over here, but I want to say hello, Claudia, Deb, aloha, Deb, Lois, Norfolk, Jim, hello, my Jim. Let's see, David, hello, David, shout out to my buddy, Dominic, referred him in, who I adore, my Dominic. Sheila, hi, Sheila, Lisette, Mary, Kelly, thank you all for being on. And Jillian, I think I saw you, but now I don't see you on the list, but I think you're in the room as well. So all of my friends, all of my colleagues, thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. And hopefully you learn a bunch of things, right? Because you know me, it's always about learning and it's always about moving the needle, and let's get those results together. So again, thank you so much. Welcome to the training for today is the eliminate the 5 layers of buyer's resistance. And here's the piece of the puzzle. I think that's the most important piece. The whole reason that we're here is because I believe every one of you can make more money without being pushy, icky, and that whole manipulative kind of vibe, even if you're not a full-time sales professional. So thank you again for joining. I hope you guys are ready to have some fun. I move fast, I think fast, and I speak fast. So I hope you all can keep up with me. And I really am looking forward to sharing just a ton of sales insights with you today, sharing, I hope, a new perspective on sales, because, you know, those of you that know me, and I'm sure you've heard on my podcast, my job is to create a movement out there where we get rid of that feeling of icky, sleazy manipulation to one of love, care, and respect. So I'm just so excited you're on this journey with me. And once again, welcome to Eliminate the 5 Layers of Buyer's Resistance. So while you're here for the training, I want everybody to understand this isn't just for, you know, full-time salespeople, because the reality is we are all responsible for sales in some capacity within our realm, whatever your job is. So one thing that's really important for you to know as we get started, what I'm going to talk about today is really going to help you personally zero in on what you need to do to be more successful with your clients. And for me, the hope is always, hey, let's convert more of those sales because we want those prospects to become our, you know, loving and adoring fans and clients. Now all of the information I'm going to share with you today, and sometimes, you know, Al gave me that beautiful introduction, but sometimes when I think about like how long I've been around and how many people I've actually have trained and coached, it's probably close to 25,000. It's definitely over 22,000 people. So that's kind of a cool number to, you know, for me to bite into. And here's my promise for you today because I do want these next 90 minutes to be super impactful for you. I'm going to give you the best I've got. And again, I'm going to come at you pretty hard and pretty fast. So please feel free to take notes and jot things down. And you guys can always email me with any questions later. Here's my request from you now. Be present, turn off all your gizmos and gadgets and devices and all of that kind of stuff so you can truly be present, because I will be firing fast. Also, please be aware that there's everything I'm covering. I'm going to give you a very broad stroke of what I'm covering. There's a whole mess of sub skills under each of the topics that we're going to discuss today. So if I even went faster to download all of those sub skills, your brains would all explode. So I don't want to do that. So again, just be mindful that we're really hitting the tip of the iceberg. You're going to get a beautiful vision or picture of how to move forward, though. And I think I'm going to answer a whole bunch of questions that you've probably had through the years. It's just impossible for me to cram those 39 years into that 90 minutes. Also, there's a really good chance that when you see the information and how you're going to be able to make so many more sales easily, you're going to want more Connie, which I always love when people want more Connie in their life. And I'm game for that. So to ease your mind, just know towards the end, I'm going to, you know, again, during this 90 minutes, I'm going to have an invitation for you to sign up and perhaps get a lot of Connie in your life from a coaching and teaching perspective, so that we can exponentially grow your learning skills as it relates to not being manipulative, but coming from this place of love, care, and respect. Now, as you probably have figured out, again, I'm Connie Whitman. Hello. And it's just so exciting to have you all here. And my passion, my reason for being, I think, is just to share and train and teach so that people walk away just learning and start humming with your business so that you just make more sales. And I believe that the more money we make, it's not about how much money did you make, right? But the more money we make, the better stuff we can do out in the world. And I hope that I can help you achieve that. So again, no matter you're a full-time salesperson, maybe you're feeling stuck, you're not getting the numbers you want, or some of you are just starting out in sales. I think, Dave, you're one of my newbies. I hope that what I teach you today helps you build really good habits and not get any bad habits in place. And for all my business owners on here or people who are new in business, again, hopefully I can help you move the needle so we make more sales, you get more clients, and create those raving fans. Now, right out of the gate, I want you to, I'm all about shifting mindset, right? We can't create change if we don't have that change in mindset. So 2 things I want you to think about today, or 2 beliefs I'd like you to be open to, is number 1, be open-minded. Don't judge yourself. Don't pigeonhole yourself either. That old story of, well, I can't be good at sales. I've never been good at sales. I want you to park that outside. We're kicking it to the curb. We're not gonna pigeonhole ourselves today. Second thing, I believe every one of you has an amazing salesperson inside, and they're like screaming to get out. So the objective for me is, and everybody on this call, I know most of you, or I'm familiar with most of you, or you've been referred to me. I know that every one of you are coming from a place of love, care, and respect. So there is a salesperson that is truly coming from a humble and loving place, and that's who we're unleashing today. Okay. So just take these 2 beliefs and harness them, and just change that paradigm of thinking within your brain. The other thing I believe, and I think my whole sales career, actually, when I first got into sales, I didn't even know I was selling. For me, it was about meeting that client and educating them so they can make a good decision, and whatever that decision was, depending on what product or service I was offering. So that's the other thing. I want you guys to raise your hands if you are willing to hold judgment, number 1, and believe that you have this amazing salesperson that's screaming to get out. And 2, if you believe that sales is really about educating the client to help them make that informed and wise decision. So raise your hands, wave at me. Hello. Yes, that's what I want to see. Love the hands. Thank you for the hands that are up. I'm high-fiving all of you. Awesome. And just from those 2 little things, right? You have this wonderful salesperson full of love and care, and that person who wants to educate, right, and make the customer make a good decision. Doesn't that feel good? Just right out of the gate, don't you feel a whole heck of a lot better? So I hope you do. All right, so let's move forward now. And I want to give you a little bit of an outline of where I'm going to take you on our journey today. So the first one, you have to become crystal clear as to what are these 5 layers, right? That's the name of the workshop. So Connie, what are these 5 layers you keep talking about? Exactly what kind of resistance are we up against? And I think more importantly, how the heck do we break them down and move past them? So you're going to discover the secret sales ingredients that's guaranteed to make you more first time as well as repeat sales. And just be in your bonnet, guys. The best news is that every one of you already have that secret ingredient. And here's the even better part. It's free. Okay. So it's not going to cost you a dime, and you've already got it. And we're going to tap into that today. Third thing, I want you to walk away knowing that there's really only 3 possible outcomes at the end of your conversation, your client conversations. There's only 3. And I'm going to give you a hint. One of them is not that you should be getting objections. Okay, so we're going to eliminate that as well by the end of the program. And the 4th thing is you're going to know exactly what has caused sales resistance to grow stronger through the years. And even more importantly, what do we do about it to try to break them down? And most sales approaches actually make people, believe it or not, we create more resistance. And that's just not what I'm all about and what we're going to talk about here. We're about to eliminate those resistance, but I think we have to understand where they're coming from before we can jump in and break them down. At the end of the program, I have a special invitation for anyone who qualifies, and you're going to learn about it. It's really kind of simple and powerful, the sales system that I've created, and again, taught or coached over 22,000 full-time and non-sales people. And the system is built to eliminate that buyer resistance, and it will eliminate that whole, like Al shared with Anne, she was so afraid of the rejection when she would ask for the business. that she came from a place of fear, and we broke that down and got rid of it. And if you meet the requirements, you can join a small group who I am going to personally coach. And again, the objective for me, what's the ROI? We are going to kick butt and make a whole bunch more sales. So those who qualify, we're going to transform all those resistance that you're getting from your clients into easy peasy, easy ways to make money and make more sales. And then the other really important thing that we're going to discover today, and this is kind of the sixth thing, I know I'm blowing your minds already. I have 6 things I want you to learn today, is I want you to learn how to personalize the system to match your natural communication style, because that's where we create the amazing results. My system's great, but you're the piece of the puzzle that's missing from my great process, right? So I'm going to teach you how to tap into that so that you walk away learning that, number one, once one size does not fit all. I am not about a cookie cutter kind of approach. Even though the system is the system, the overlay of you as the human, that's where the magic happens. And that impersonalized sales, and I bet a bunch of you have been through programs where my way is the right way. This is the template you have to use. I think templates are wonderful, but you have to personalize them and make sure that you come through loud and clear. You can't be me. I can't be you. So let's work on having you tap into your zone of genius and overlaying it on that template. Also, if you stay to the end, I have special prizes for you. The one is I have a colleague who has offered to give anyone who stays to the end, you'll put your email in and we're going to give you, we'll send you an email with a link to schedule a free LinkedIn review, your LinkedIn profile. And he's an expert. His name is Brian Morgan, and he's offered to do that for me. He's a wonderful friend and colleague. So stick to the end if you want that wonderful bonus. Okay. The other thing, as you get to know me, and again, you guys that know me in the room, I like to over deliver. I don't ever want anyone to walk away from me feeling like, yeah, that was it. So again, I want to make sure that I over deliver and you walk away with a ton of just stuff you can bite into and apply literally as soon as today if you have any client calls after this meeting. Now, I want to introduce you to kind of a special person, and this person is who I call the objectionless buyer. So you're thinking, okay, you've never heard of this. Who is the objectionless buyer? Well, the objectionless buyer is the person who's actually, they're there and they're happy to buy your product or services right now. They have the money, they're the perfect fit for you. They already trust you and they're ready to go. The key to more sales is getting past the 5 layers, because at the end of the 5 layers of resistance, ta-da, that's where our objectionless buyer lies. So now here's the question, and you guys could raise your hands. Wouldn't you love to be face-to-face with the objectionless buyer every time you speak to a client or prospect, right? Raise your hand, wave at me. Yeah, right, every time. So imagine how different your life would look or your life would be if you could consistently and easily make those sales that may be slipping through your fingers because you might be missing up or messing up during those 5 layers. Or even better, if you were seeing opportunities for more sales that are sitting right in front of you that maybe you didn't even see before. So we're going to talk a lot about blind spots today as well. Now, not only is it possible, it's actually easy to make the sales and the money that you're missing when you have this powerful system in place. And again, tap into those natural strengths that you have. Because for me, if I teach something and you learn something and to you it feels weird and awkward, you're never going to use it. It's never going to work. And now we've just wasted all this time and money. So you're probably thinking, I keep using that word, easy. So you're saying, easy to make more sales over and over again. I think this one has lost her mind. I promise you, I have not lost my mind. And you're already been promised the moon and the stars by all those other vendors, all that other training. Because let's face it, most of us have been through tons of training before, and you're promised, everything. And at the end of the day, we feel like we're left holding that bag of, goods that we weren't even able to use. So it would be a bit naive for you, especially for the folks that don't know me yet, to think, well, okay, Con, this sounds great, but I don't really know you, right? Who are you? Why should I believe you? And you shouldn't believe me until I show you and you learn some of the strategies that I'm going to talk about today. And can this really work for me? And here's the thing. Can this work for you? 100% yes. This is made for everybody who wants to serve at a bigger level, a higher level, but coming from that place of love, care, and respect, and not that kind of manipulative, icky place. So like my friends and colleague Al shared, I am Connie Whitman, 39 years, 22,000 people. It's kind of cool when I look back at everybody that I've either trained or coached or, whatever my clients' expectations were. Large corporations, solopreneurs, full-time employees, people who were new to sales, people who had sales as a part of their job, maybe billable hours if you were an accountant or an attorney or something like that. Here's the coolest piece of the puzzle. Yes, because I've been doing this 39 years, I've decoded patterns that are invisible to people. I call them the newbies. They've only been doing this 10 or 20 years. And I've decoded over my 39 years of how to exactly sell so that our objective here is to get rid of that old school, beat you up, pulverize you to make that sale. So I want to share a little bit of a story with you. And here's the cool thing. I love this story, by the way. And it's a story that we all are aware of, we know about, and we've heard from when we were little kids. The story is the Three Little Pigs, but I'm going to talk about the Three Little Pigs and sales. So you're about to discover exactly why. Remember, I said we have to understand why sales is harder than ever when you approach it like that old hardcore kind of closer perspective that tell you, and here's some of the things I know I've heard through the years. They tell you, don't take no for an answer. You're supposed to get no 3 times before you walk away. And why it's going to be really hard for you if you follow in their footsteps. And that's where the resistance comes from. So it's related to the childhood story, right? And the old story of the Three Little Pigs. What does the wolf do? He arrives at the first little pig's house that's made of straw. He huffs and puffs, blows it down, and the poor little piggy runs to his brother at the next house that's built of wood. And they feel that they're safe and they huddle in the house built of wood. And the wolf comes along, and what does he do again? He huffs and puffs, blows it down. So the 2 little pigs run to their big brother, the 3rd little pig, who has built an amazing house built of brick. And the wolf is unable to blow that house down, and he leaves exhausted. So the 3 little pigs are safe from the wolf. The end, right? Or is it? So that was the old story. So of course, I like to be creative and have fun. And this actually, my buddy Jim and I derived, it was more Jim than me. But in the old story, that was the end. In our new story, right, we're barely getting started. So you see, the wolf had been taught that hardcore closing sales, never take no, beat them up. And so what he did is he came back to the brick house with the 3 little piggies inside with a sledgehammer, and he broke it down brick by brick by brick. So now the poor little piggies were running for their life again, and they fled to their first cousin, who lives, a 4th little pig who lives down the street. And he had heard about the bad wolf that blew or broke the brick house down with the sledgehammer. And the 4th little pig had built his house in an old railroad car that was impenetrable because it was made from this awesome steel. And the wolf comes and he brings the sledgehammer and he starts banging away. The poor little pig's ears were ringing, but at last the wolf said, I have an idea, because I've taken that oath of the hardcore sales closer, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. And those darn little pigs are going to buy from me whether they want to or not. So what did he do? He went and bought a wrecking ball, and he brought the wrecking ball to this poor steel car, and he started banging away, and he broke in. So now the 4 little pigs, they ran again to the 5th little pig. This happened to be their second cousin once removed. And that little pig had been observing all of the sales tactics that this bad wolf had been doing, and his poor little cousins that had been running for their lives. So he was hard at work building a pig sanctuary that was safe from that bad, hardcore closing wolf. And this little piggy, the fifth little piggy, he built a castle. And here's the coolest thing. He put a moat and he put a drawbridge. And so far, the wolf has not been able to breach it. But trust me, you know, he's plotting away on how he can break through and get through to the sanctuary. All right, so you're thinking, all right, that was kind of fun. What's the moral of the story, Con? So of course, there are a few key points that I really want you to think about. Number one, that hardcore closers, they're never going to stop. They're out there, guys, and they're going to continue to beat on our clients and our prospects. And they make sales just harder and harder for all of us, unless we have a completely different approach. The second thing I want you to learn is your prospects feel like the little pigs. And I bet as I was going through that story, didn't you kind of feel like the little pigs a little bit too? Now they've been relentlessly chased, pushed and manipulated, and they felt that sting of making bad decisions because of just all of that sales pressure that we've all have felt in the past. And they've built up these defenses to protect themselves. And here's the reality, who can blame them? I know I have them as well. So I'm guessing there are areas in your life where you really do, or you have felt like the little pig just being chased by the wolf, and you've built walls, and we all have them. And I know I've been around people, salespeople, who just come at you in this icky, disgusting way where you really want to take a shower afterwards. The third thing I want you to understand and learn from that story is resistance is a natural response to the pressure. So every time we've been pressured and tricked or manipulated, our walls become stronger and stronger and stronger. And here's the part that may surprise you. Remember how I told you that I see patterns that those less experienced sales trainers and experts and coaches don't see? And here's the big one that you really need to know about. There are 5 layers of the sales resistance, and your ability to eliminate those 5 layers of resistance, for me, that's the ultimate superpower or sales superpower that I can hope that you learn today. So did you get that? And I don't say this lightly. The ultimate sales superpower is the ability to eliminate 5 layers of buyer's resistance. And here's why. So remember before I mentioned my objectionless buyer that's waiting for you behind those 5 layers of resistance? It's a person you'll never meet if you don't try to force your way through those layers of resistance, because they just keep building stronger and stronger layers. So how do you get to the objectionless buyer, and who is that person? They're really happy to buy from you, your product, services. They have the money. They are your ideal client. They are the perfect fit. They've already trust, like, and know you, and they're ready to rock and roll and move forward. The key to more sales is getting past it to the 5 layers. So how do we break down those 5 layers of resistance, right? You keep saying, Connie, the objectionless buyer, please introduce me. I want to know who they are. And that's the $1 million question. So here's the answer. For the wolves out there, right? They're still trying to break down and trying to break in. So we're going to take an alternative approach, and I'm going to teach you the antidote to the sales resistance. So just want you to imagine for a minute, instead of, again, that forcing our way in, right, to just continue to build those walls even stronger. What if that drawbridge that the pig had created in his little sanctuary actually opened for you? You get invited into the castle and then get escorted into the inner chamber to have a face-to-face meeting, obviously in a COVID-safe way, and you're right in front of that objectionless buyer. And here's the coolest thing, they're inviting you to stay for dinner. So doesn't that feel super powerful for you? Now, how do you get escorted in while all the other people are looking outside thinking, what did Jillian do? What did Mary do? What did Lois do? What did Dave do? And you're probably wondering, well, what do I need to do to escort it in? And now we're going to talk about breaking down the layers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go one by one. And if you want to take notes, please feel free to do that. And I'm going to break them down one at a time clearly for you, so that at the end of that 5th layer, you will be face to face with that objectionless buyer. So let's talk about what is resistance layer 1. And I call it the time layer. You have to demonstrate to the prospect or client right out of the gate that you believe their time is precious, that you have great respect for it, and time spent with you will actually be worthwhile and tremendous value added for them. And here's how we address this resistance. So immediately when you meet the client, you want to say something like, okay, we're going to spend an hour together, 30 minutes together, 2 hours, whatever your time frame is. Set that boundary with clarity so they know they've agreed to that time slot. And then you have to be mindful. Make sure you do not go over the time slot. Now, what happens when the hour's up or 30 minutes up, whatever it is, and you and the prospect are still in this tremendously engaged conversation, and you think, wow, this is going really well. My hour is up. Oh my God, what do I do? You need to say to the client or prospect, hey, our hour's up. I blocked out more time on my schedule, and I am mindful that you may have other things that you have to do, or other things in your schedule. Then I will say something like this. So if you need to schedule another meeting, let's do that now, and I'm happy to do that. If you'd like to continue, I'm happy to do that as well. It is up to you. Now we've put the ball in the client's court. 90% of the time, if you have truly connected, they see the value and they see that you're really prepared and mindful of their time. 90% of the time, they'll say, well, I have a little more time. Or they'll say, no, I really do have to get somewhere. Let's reschedule something. Now, this is the other piece of the puzzle. I always want to keep the door open to those clients and prospects. So please make sure you schedule something there, and don't say something like, well, look at your schedule and let me know what works. Schedule it immediately while you have the client there. So leave that couple of minutes at the end if you need to get it scheduled, if you know they truly can't give you any more time. And this is how I really show respect for their time. And it's really important to stay to that time limit, because remember, they have busy lives too. They have other clients they need to see, or other demands on them. So first, with that first tip, right, of being prepared and mindful of the time, does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up in the thing, or wave. Good. Thank you, Lisette. I saw the thumbs up. The second point I want to make we're still at the first layer now. In order to be able to stay on point during that meeting and to make sure you maximize the engagement, you need to be prepared, and then prepared again, and even better prepared. And did I mention prepared? You have to be super prepared, because that's the only way, number one, you're going to stay within your time limit, but you have to have an agenda. So here's what I've created in my 20 years in being business. I've always used an agenda in my first 18 years of sales working for a company. The past 20 years, what I've done is I have probably maybe 8 questions that I ask over and over again. So in a Word document under my Whitman and Associates file, I have an agenda. And every time I have a meeting with a client, this is all I do. I go in, I put the client's name at the top, the date of the date that we're having the meeting, and I print out a whole bunch of agendas for the number of people that are in the meeting. So sometimes it's just one person, sometimes it could be 10 people. I print out all of the agendas, I create a little marketing packet, and that's what I bring to the meeting. Here's a hack and here's a trick. On your agenda, it's the same agenda, the same outline, except I add a whole bunch of space after each of the line items or questions that I know I'm going to ask. And here's the cool thing. And I know a lot of people, and raise your hands if you do this. Do you just take notes on a legal pad when you meet with a client? Raise your hands. Anybody? Yeah. Okay. So this is just an easy hack for you. By segregating it into the topics, I'm taking notes specifically in each of those sections. So let's say I get to the third question and the client goes, oh, Con, you know what I forgot to tell you? And it was something from the first question. Well, I just go back up to the first question and fill it in that slot. For me, that being that level of organized helps me at the end, number one, make my recommendations. But number two, when I write up a proposal or anything like that, it's super organized. One last thing I want to share with you. It's just another little hack that I use that just seems to get results for people. As I'm going through my agenda, I allow the customer to speak or the prospect to speak, right? So I'm taking my notes diligently, still remaining engaged. It's okay to jot notes down. If they say something that I think, whoa, there's something there, I think I need a little more information, I put a star. That's my code. You could put a check mark. It doesn't matter. But I put a star, and I think as soon as they're done completely answering my question and finishing their thought, I need to circle back and ask another question about whatever that was. Additionally, that star usually ends up being the key pieces of information when I go to make my recommendation at the end of this whole process. Those stars become those critical pieces of the puzzle. They're it's like they're charged words, they're charged things that your client's telling you. They're the ones I put the stars next to. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The other thing is that by doing all of this, right, being mindful of their time, hey, our time is up, taking these notes, allowing them to speak, having that agenda prepared before you even get in, the client is already subconsciously feeling, wow, they respect me. Wow, they get my time is valuable. Wow, they are super prepared. This is the kind of person that I want to do business with. Okay. Now, again, like I said before, there's a bunch of other sub layers to this, but there are two really good hacks that I just taught you that I think can help you break down that first layer of buyer's resistance. Okay. So again, showing up prepared, being mindful of the time, and stay tuned for the ends, because I'm also going to offer part of the package is I have a call planner and a workbook, and it's free to you. And the information in there will help you create your outline, your template for you. It doesn't have to be my questions. You're going to create your own, but I have that within there as well. It's a self-paced program just for you. All right, so we're going to move on to resistance layer number 2. Now, this is the trust layer, and you guys all know this. This is a big one. So you have to demonstrate to the prospect that you truly have their best interest, and that you additionally have the required expertise to represent whatever it is that you are, your product, services, whatever your offer is. So you show that you understand how they think and how they process information and deliver your solutions properly. So now, two things I want to address here. Number one, this is about the client. So this is that building trust. It's building that rapport, building that connection. Doesn't matter how brilliant you are. Nobody cares. Okay. It's always about the client. So how do you do that? And the other thing I want you to understand is that I've created, and some of you might have even have taken, my communication style assessment. And the importance with that is that as soon as I understand how that client is wired, we're all born with a certain way that we communicate, right? So if I can understand how my client is wired and how they communicate, it becomes super easy for me to be able to uncover what I need to uncover from them. So let me give you an example with the communication style assessment. So it's a quiz you take, you get a result, you find out what your personal superpowers are. And we want to build on strength. We want to build on those superpowers. The flip side, you understand what your blind spots are. And here's the deal. You really do need to understand what your blind spots are, because that's where we miss a lot of opportunity. That's where we shoot ourselves in the foot. And right here in the second layer is where we could potentially lose the business. And we're only on layer 2. So you see how important these layers are. Now, and ask you another question, and I'm sure you've all had this experience. I know I've had it multiple times. Have you ever met someone and immediately felt like, oh my goodness, I feel like I've known you my whole life? And the like, no trust factor, it's kind of there already. The flip side, how many of you have had the experience where you've met someone and you think, eek, they are disgusting. You feel a little dirty after meeting them and you almost want to go home and take a shower, right? We've all had that experience. Would you ever do business with someone like that? No way. So this is why understanding the communication style assessment is so important. And this really becomes the game changer for you, because most people, number one, have no idea how they're wired, let alone their superpowers, let alone their blind spots. And that's where we end up really missing the boat. So I want you to think about this from another perspective. When I say our communication style assessment, there's 5 key categories, if you will, right? And those 5 categories means that 20% of the time, you are speaking to someone exactly like you. And you know who they are because you're having a conversation and you think, oh, this is like the easiest conversation ever. You don't have to shift. You don't have to modify. You can just be you with ease. Well, the bad news is 80% of the time, or 8 out of 10 times you're speaking to someone, they're opposite style from you, so that you are talking to someone who is not exactly like you. So you, and you'll learn this in the program, literally within the first 5 seconds that you're with the client or prospect, you need to understand their style so that you can quickly modify and give them what they need. So I want to give you an example because I want to make this tangible for you. Those that know me and those that are learning about me right here, right now, I move fast, I think fast, right? And I make very good eye contact. You see, I'm looking at the camera. Well, I do the same thing if I'm face to face with the client, right? I look at them. So my eye contact, it could be a little intense for, now picture it, if the client or the person on the other end of the Zoom meeting is maybe a computer programmer, or maybe an engineer or an architect, they're much more cerebral. They're much slower in their breathing. They're much more detailed in the answers that they're going to give me. So, and this is hard, guys. I'm not saying this is easy stuff. So when I'm talking to an engineer or an accountant or an architect, I have to slow my breathing down, right? I have to provide analytics and details and examples for them so that they could look and digest what I'm saying. The other thing I have to do is I can't make intense eye contact. So literally I have to learn to look away and then look back up and then make believe I'm taking a note, even if I'm not, and then look back up. Because if I have my intensity of my body language being thrust at them, they're going to get freaked out and they're going to feel uncomfortable. Well, I have this tool, I have this skill. So shame on me if I don't modify and give that client what they need from me. Does this make sense to you? And just raise your hand if just what I just said, right? Out of 2 out of 10 people are just like you, 8 aren't, right? You want like your mind blower. Right? Yeah, Claudia, thank you. I see Cece smiling. This is really an important piece of the puzzle. We're only on layer 2. So do you see if you blow it here, what happens? You blow it, you blow the sail. So the other cool thing when you modify, and this cracks me up, whenever I meet an engineer or somebody that really is opposite style to me, and at the end, if I'm teaching right in my courses and they're learning about this behavioral style stuff and communication, and I'll say, well, what do you think my style is? 99% of the time they say, oh, you are just like me. You are the same style as me. And I crack up inside it. I think if you only knew. And then I tell them how I'm opposite of them. But that's such a great illustration to show you how you need to modify and manipulate. Manipulate's the wrong word. Modify is the better word, so that the client is like, you get me. And this is what the client subconsciously will be. There's a lot going on subconsciously when we talk about sales, right? So they're thinking to themselves, oh, Connie gets me. Lois gets me. Jillian gets me. They hear me. They see me. They understand me. Do you see the power of and the need to break down that layer number 2, right? Super, super important. Now, again, because I feel like I'm hitting the tip of the iceberg with all of these different layers, but I think you have enough that you go, oh, I understand that. Yes. So some of you, and let me just give you one more example. If I was your client or prospect and you're more cerebral and you have a little bit slower of a pace, I don't want detail. I don't want to talk about analytics. I don't want to look at a brochure. Give me the information, give me what I need to know, and I will make a decision, right? I'll fire fast. So you have to manipulate, modify yourself so that you deliver what I need, okay? So at the end, again, there's going to be another free little piece in the puzzle for you if you choose to get a little more Connie in your life, okay? Don't you love surprises? I love surprises. All right, so now let's talk about resistance layer number 3. And I I have to put my glasses on. I just want to do a time check here. So yeah, we're good on time. Okay. Number 3 is, this is the clarity layer. So how do we demonstrate to the prospect that we're interested in them, and allow them to share and speak freely, giving us everything we actually need to learn? So here's another I love percentages because it gives us something tangible to kind of think about. So when I'm sitting in front of the client, they should be talking 70 to 80% of the time. I should be listening 70 to 80% of the time. And I'm going to talk about listening in another minute from now. So how do I get the client to talk or speak or share for that 70 to 80% of the time? Goes back to part of preparation. I should have my questions honed so well that I know what 7, 6, 5, 8 questions I need to ask to get that customer talking, to give me the clarity of what I need to know in order for me to make a presentation when I get to that step in the process. Okay. So here's the critical thing to be aware of. It's all about the questions you're asking so that you can clearly understand or the client could clearly understand what you're asking. So they provide clarity in their answer, which will help you provide a clear recommendation when you get to the presentation down the road. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When you get them talking, blah, 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 and they're telling you what's going on. They're telling you about their pain, about their situation, about whatever's going on right here, right now. And it's the power of those open-ended questions, right, that we're asking so that their answers to the right questions provide the clarity, which helps me move on when I want to make the presentation down the road. Now, if you don't hear, and this is important too, by you asking those questions, so that means you're speaking 20 to 30% of the time asking your questions. They're talking 70 to 80%. What happens is, as you take those notes and put the stars and all the things I shared before, you're creating a full picture of who that client is. And then what happens is, when you get to the next piece of the puzzle, that layer is broken down because the client is the one doing the talking. So they're understanding that you get me, you're taking these notes, you're asking me those follow-up questions to dig in even a little more, to fully understand what's going on in my life right here, right now. And this is where we can progress even faster because of the clarity of the conversation. Okay. Now, I want to ask you a question for a second. Let me think here. Here's my question. Think about this for a minute. What do clients with clarity do? So and you can unmute yourself to answer, guys. If I am your client and we're having a conversation and the whole thing back and forth is so clear to me, by the time you make the presentation, what is the client going to do? They have clarity what you're talking about. What are they going to do?
Take action.
Yeah. Who said that?
Kimberly.
Beautiful. They're going to take action. They are going to say yes. They are going to agree to whatever that next step is. So this is you understand the importance of asking those questions. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples because I know it's so funny. When I started my business, people would say, "Oh, Colin, give me an example of what you would say." And then I would give them an example and then they wouldn't be able to write fast enough because I talk fast. And they'd say, "What did you say again?" And I'd go, "Oh, I don't even know. I don't remember." So I'm going to give you an example now. An example might be, explain to me the situation you're facing with XYZ, because you know why you're meeting with them. So ask them to explain the situation. That's an open-ended question. They can't answer you in a yes or no. They're going to give you all of that meat and potatoes and the detail that you're looking for. Then a follow-up question might be something like, how is that impacting your business, right? This is the situation. How is it impacting your personal life, your professional life, your business, whatever it is? Again, depending on what your zone of genius is and what your business in. So here's the reality. If I don't understand the client's full situation, I'm going to blow it later on when I start to make my recommendation, right? And when you do connect with the client and you have that full picture, by the time you go to present, they're already on the edge of their seat thinking, how quickly can we do this? I'm ready to rock and roll. Okay. All right. So now I want to talk about breaking through resistance layer 4, which is how you truly align with the client. And this is called the active listening, right? So the funny thing is we all think that we're good listeners. And I crack up in my program, I do a listening quiz. And beforehand, I always say to the participants, who's a good listener? And they all raise their hands. And I just laugh because then they fail miserably on the listening quiz, because here's the truth of the matter. And it's not a put down to anyone. But when we ask those questions, what typically we're doing, instead of going into that layer number 4 of listening, we're taking turns talking with the customer. So what happens is, while the client is speaking, I'm thinking, oh, well, when they shut up, I'm going to ask this question. Well, guess what? Customers doing the same thing back at you. So that's why we have to be listening 70% of the time in order to break down layer number 4, which is the alignment layer. Now, you have to demonstrate here that you have a powerful appreciation for what the prospect's desires are, deepest respect and understanding for, again, their specific concern, situation, and gather that full picture. So using those active listening skills is how we show them that. And this, again, I often say with sales, it's intimate. And I don't mean that in a dirty, weird way, but subconsciously, they really do have to be connected with us. And that's why I chose ESP for my book when I published it last year, ESP, Easy Sales Process. But I chose ESP because I do think a lot is happening at the subconscious level with our clients. So with active listening, people feel that you hear them deeply, that they want to be heard, and that they feel like they're understood, and that, you really get them, and that you really are able to help whatever their situation here. So the goal is to get 3 or 4 doing a really nice, that layer number 3, that layer number 4, you're in control here, and you want to create that little dance, right? Where you're kind of going back and forth. So I want you to think of it as the layer number 3 and layer number 4, right? That's the question listening. They're tethered together. They're married. They're doing a dance, right? And from that place of that care of listening and questioning, you come from that place of care, love, and respect. And the client really feels it, so that they want to do business with you. And subconsciously, they might say things like, oh my goodness, Connie or Lois or Cindy or whoever, they're taking their time to get to know me. And that's where the alignment happens. That sense of being, not just being another salesperson who wants my money. They see you as the person that's on their side, and actually you want the best thing for them. And they feel important to you because you've made them feel like they're your number 1 priority. And if you remember, Al said that before, that anybody that I work with, any of his employees, that I would be coaching, and him included, they're the most important thing to me. That's the truth. But by all of these skills that I'm teaching and that you're learning today, that's how we get that subconscious connection with our client. So if they don't feel important to you, they're not going to feel aligned with you. And that's just the long and short of it. So here you are showing them I'm listening, and I'm present with you. And here's another little tip. You guys might want to write this down too. 55% of our communication is messaged, illustrated, felt through body language. So pay attention when you're with the client live. It's a little bit easier to see because you'll see them lean in, they're making eye contact with you. On Zoom, pay attention. When you see the client lean in to their computer, or you see them, do the nod, and then you see them writing a note, magic is happening. You're really engaged with them. Please do not lose that dynamic because they're leaning in, they're with you. The other cool thing to pay attention to, your body language. And I notice this all the time when I'm with my clients or I'm coaching, and now we're always on Zoom. If I find myself leaning in, and then I find they're leaning in, and you feel it, guys, you feel the energy, the transmission, even through Zoom, you feel that energy connection, and it's like it's magical. So pay attention to that as well. Let me see. Here's another sales tip and hack for you of what to listen for. And this is important. So and this is going to be important when you get to making the presentation. If the client uses, I call them charged words or phrases, and sometimes they'll repeat the same word. So I'll give you an example. They might say, Connie, I am so frustrated and overwhelmed with whatever's going on. I write down frustrated, overwhelmed. If they say the word helpless or hopeless, I write it down. So when I get to present my ideas to them, my recommendations, my offer, or whatever, guess what I do? I use their words. Their words come out of my mouth. So a couple of things happen. Number one, they're thinking, she totally understands me. She's using the same words. Whether I understand what their frustration, overwhelm, hopelessness, whether I understand that fully or not, doesn't really matter. They feel heard and understood, and they're going to open up even more and break down that fourth layer so that they fully align with you. So make sure you're taking notes with your clients and putting stars or underlying or some way that you have to use those keywords, phrases, charge, and they're usually verbs. They're words that are going to have like just an energy. You're going to feel the energy of the word. Write them down. Okay. So that's another little trick for you. So we're through layer number 4, and I'm going to share the 5th layer just in a minute. But first, I want to address exactly where it gets challenging for most people. And there's a lot to consistently making sales. And, I keep saying I'm giving you that bird's eye view, right, to break down those layers. But there's a whole bunch of sub skills that need to be addressed. So if you don't know what to do or exactly what went wrong, you can't adjust. So for me, every time, and I guess as I perfected this, and remember I said I could decode things, I started to figure out where I was shooting myself in the foot with each of those 5 layers. And once I understood where I disconnected or where I needed to adjust my skill, I never made that same mistake again. So if you can't adjust properly, it doesn't matter how many sales concepts you learn, you're just never going to get better at sales because you don't really know where to dig in and make better. So if you don't get better at sales, you might start making up those negative stories again about yourself. Those stories that can trap you in the false identity, limit your options, and prevent you from really achieving the potential that every one of you have that's in this room. And I would hate to see that happen. So before I tell you about the sales systems I have for you, and it really is, guys, here's the long and short of it. It's the easy peasy way out. So first, let's find out if this could be right for you. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, right? First one, and just be honest, because if you're not honest, that doesn't do anybody any good. So if you really want to make more sales, make more money, be honest right here. So here's the questions, or here are the ways that we can miss sales. So I'm going to go through a list of 4. Number 1, we don't even get the opportunity because we can't get our foot in the door, right? So we just don't even know how to get that set up. Number 2, we never make the offer or recommendation because we kind of feel weird or awkward, or we're not sure when to make the offer. 3, you make the offer or whatever the recommendations are prematurely or before the client's ready. So remember, I'm going through these 5 layers. If the client is still in layer number 2, they're not sure that they trust you, and you're on layer 4 about alignment, you lost the sale because you've left the client behind. So we make the incorrect, and the 4th one is you make the incorrect or perhaps even an incomplete offer or recommendation. So you get the idea. So please type, or you can type this one in the chat box if you can. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that you have been missing out on sales? So 1 is, I'm a rock star, I never miss a sale. Number 10 is, absolutely, I know I'm missing out on those sales. So that's your scale on a scale of 1 to 10. Just put that one in the chat box for me. 8, 10. Who said 10 out of 10? I love you for being so honest. 7, Kimberly, you're so cute. Let's see. I got a when. Oh, Marcy put that in for me. 8, Emma, good. 7, Claudia, good. 7 is Nance. Gabrielle is 8. Dr. Jillian, 6. Deb, 7. Julie, 7, Kelly, 7, Michael Neely, 7. Thank you, Michael. Sheila, 8, Deb, 8. Cece, you're 10 out of 10, Cece. You're my rock star. I'm not even a 10 out of 10. Mary, a 5, Lisette, a 5, Jen, a 9, Lois, a 9, and Jen, another 9 or 10, Madeline, a 10. All right, you 10s out there, you should be teaching this class. You can teach me a few things. So bottom line, we all know that we probably have actually been missing out on sales. All right, now for the next question, you don't have to put it in the chat because it's a little more personal, but I would like you to be honest and write it down for me on a piece of paper in front of you. How many sales are you losing or missing out per month? Right here, right now with your current skill level. How many sales do you think that you're missing out? And this could both be opportunities that you should be getting that you're not, and opportunities that you're not turning into sales at all. So again, is it a 1? Is it 5 sales? Is it 10 sales? Is it 3 sales? And then based on that, on the piece of paper in front of you, how much is each of those sales worth or potentially worth to you? And you only know if you make a sale, what's the price point, right? Everybody has different price points. So example would be if you're missing 4 sales per month and each sale is worth $2,000 at the end of a month, it's $8,000, right? And that to me is kind of a lot of money. So give me a hands up or on the thing, a thumbs up. Do you have your number and the dollar amount? Raised hand, Claudia, thank you. Everybody have their number? Nance, good. I saw you wave. Cool. Okay. So now I want you to take whatever that dollar amount is that you're potentially missing, multiply it by 12. So in my example, the 8,000, 12 months from now, 96 grand, which to me is pretty darn substantial. So how big is that opportunity for you? Again, you don't have to put it in the chat or anything. I just want you to let that number sink in for yourself. And how do you feel about it? Now, in this I do want you to put in the chat. How do you feel when you see that number? Do you go, oh my goodness, I have such opportunity, I'm excited? Are you mad at yourself, which that's crazy because we have a remedy, right? Are you unsure? You're not really sure how you feel. So put in the chat how you feel, because I'm just curious. I know you guys don't type fast enough for me. Marcy yelled at me on Tuesday when I did this the last time. Nobody wants to answer? Wow. Yeah. Wow. Right. Stoked. I love it. I love that you haven't done the math before. Yay. Awesome. Yikes. Great new perspective. Yeah. Thanks, Cece. Yeah. It's funny when we're not asked these questions and we don't answer them, we never quantify, potentially what we're leaving on the table or what we're potentially losing. So I think that's kind of important. So thank you for that. Anybody? Yeah. The yikes was the last one for Cece. Okay. So thank you for that. All right. Now I am excited with the information, you guys, like I missed an opportunity. Claudia, I don't want you to feel like I missed an opportunity. I believe what's done is done. Can't go back, can't change it, can't worry about it. Now you're in a place of power. What could I do going forward to change so I never do that again, right? If I had a mishap or a misstep or I'm leaving money on the table, how do I do it so I never go back? That's really, I want you to look forward. So seeing all your answers, feeling is exactly why I created, and it's called the Objectionless Buyer Package. Now it's the complete system, sales system that transforms all of this resistance that we're talking about, these resistance prospects, into those eager buyers. So the complete system is, and answer this question, and you can unmute yourself if you'd like to answer it. What's the secret ingredient, or what do you think the secret ingredient is in my program? Anybody want to yell out? Yeah, Gabrielle, exasperating. I get it. Kimberly, you, me or you, Kimberly?
You, Connie, who helps us get past that resistance or notice where our blind spots are.
And I love you for that. So I am the guide. You are the secret sauce. You're the secret ingredient. And it goes back to when I started before. I said, I have this great program. I have this template and it's wonderful. It works. It's a system. It's logical. You cannot approach my system the way Connie Whitman or Michael Neely or Jim Niesonger or Marcy Toller. You can't approach it only by the way you need to approach it. So I help you learn how to tap into, and it's you're the secret sauce in my system, not me. But I love you for thinking that. That was very nice of you to think that. So here's the deal. And I said it at the beginning when I asked you to shift some of your beliefs. I believe that there's an amazing salesperson in every single one of you, and that you really all, you should be tapping into that zone of genius and understand your natural skills. And yes, I will help you figure that out and how to leverage it, and the communication style assessment and shifting within those first 3 seconds of meeting a client. All of those things are part of the program, but they're your strengths. They're not mine, and they're not your neighbors. So you need to fully understand them to be able to use them. And this is another thing. And you're right, in a way, I'm going to show you your blind spots, but then you're going to know exactly how to overcome those blind spots through the program. So I really want you to understand that you're magical. Every one of us are unique and magical. We just have to tap into that. And I don't think most of the programs out there teach us how to find our own zone of genius. So how can we minimize the blind spot? So here's the deal. I'd love to review, number one, your superpowers and your blind spots, and help you maximize every opportunity. So we don't ever look back. We're always looking forward. And let me share what's included in this complete offer. So first thing, the full easy sales process. Notice the ESP again. It's the value is a $4,000 value. So what you get in the program is 9 video modules, workbook, step-by-step action guide where you actually will learn the skills and tools and be able to create those better sales conversations and make more money. So you're going to practice them out. I believe in learning something, but it's application, application, application. That's what drives results. Okay. In addition to the personal review of your communication style, I'm going to cover 3 modules here. Just the communication style is one of them. We do a deep dive. I will meet with you actually in a group, but we'll talk one-on-one so that you can break down and truly understand your superpowers and your blind spots, right? So we're gonna dig in with that. It's gonna become super clear. One other thing I want to comment with this, the communication style assessment, the quiz and the results. Not only can you use it in your professional lives, you guys will be able to use it at home, family, friends, with your kids. I use it all the time with my kids. It just creates harmony every time you speak to no matter what human you speak in what category of your life. So now that's the CSA, the communication style assessment. So I'm just going to tap on 3 modules. Module 3, you're going to develop your 5 to 8 open-ended questions. We're going to zero in on your specific questions based on your demographics, your products, your services, all of that kind of information. Once we do that, like my agenda I talked about before, it's rinse and repeat. You're going to be using them again and again, and we'll create your agenda. And your agenda, it's not mine, it's yours. Module number 4. This is the listening skills. You have to learn what to listen for using and hearing those charged words that I talked about before. Zero in on them. How do I use them in my presentation without sounding like a parrot? Because then that's just obnoxious and you're being a jerk, right? How do I make that presentation easy peasy? How do I get that yes from the client? Okay. And then module number 8, we're going to talk about a follow-up system that feels right for you. You don't have to do it my way. We're going to figure out what that's the right system for you. What is the timing for you and your client? We don't ever want to become a pain in the neck or the client think, oh, it's her again, and not pick up the phone or not respond to the email or not respond to a Zoom request. You're coming across as pushy then. So we have to find what that rhythm is for you and your client to set up your overall follow-up system. Okay. And I want to share a story with you. I worked with this woman, Deborah, many, many years ago. And then through the years, through coaching and different things that I was hired to help her with. First time I met her, she couldn't even speak in the classroom with her peers. She was so nervous. So I had to do a whole bunch of things like on the side just to build her confidence up enough for her to feel her voice could be heard. She had a very, very high, she wasn't born in the United States, so she had a very thick accent and it was debilitating her. Well, I'd like to share with you, after working with me and after going through the program and finding her secret sauce and how she communicates. Doesn't matter that she had an accent. She today now runs a division. And this is, I've probably known her maybe 8 years. She now runs a division. She does external business development and brings in new clients. She's part of her chamber and has one of the key positions at her local chamber of commerce. It's all possible, right? And it was all her. I can teach you what to do. You can learn what to do, but you have to practice. And she was such a great student. And I think she became a Connie Whitman disciple, which I love. I kind of like that terminology. Okay. The next thing you're going to get. So I hope that story gives you an idea of someone who was truly fearful. And now she's a rock star. And I just love stories like that. Next, you get 10 private group coaching calls with me, and that's a value of about $3,000. And this is where you get the coaching feedback to personalize, notice the word personalize, all of your information and all of your skills to your exact situation, industry, demographic, all of those things. And I'm going to answer all your questions, plus the other questions that your classmates or peers will have. Because what happens, I find, is people ask questions and you're sitting there thinking, oh, that was a good one. I didn't think of that. So we'll address that as well. And what I find, that moves everybody faster, forward faster. So that's just kind of cool. And I just want to share one more really quick story. Recently, it was about a month ago, I had a call with a prospect, never met him before. We had a 30-minute, get to know you call, and he's out west and he works for a bank. And as we were chatting, getting to know each other, and I said to him the last 10 minutes, I said, hey, I have some tips if you'd like me to share them. I'd love to share them with you. And he said, sure. So I gave him 3 tips. One of the tips was you have to start referring to your local colleagues, right, that are in business in your town. Also, you need to start asking your really good business clients that love you, ask them for referrals. And then I gave him 2 other tips. Well, fast forward 2 weeks after our conversation, he had brought in 2 huge deals. One was $1 million loan, because he started referring and he started asking his better clients, hey, do you know anybody that I can help with? And he got referrals back. So it's that whole law of referrals and reciprocity, and he's leveraging that. So here's the deal. That was 10 minutes. At the end of our conversation, it was 10 minutes. I gave him a couple of hacks and he brought in 2 huge deals, which, by the way, probably made his goal for the quarter, right? So think about that. You get 6 times that every week. So with the 10 weeks, you're going to get 60 times all of those sales hacks and ideas and tips that I've learned in my 39 years of doing this. So that's where the difference between me and the folks who are doing this for 20 years, I just have decoded so many things that I think I take for granted, but it's going to blow your mind. So I would love for you to come and learn and play to learn all those hacks. And the next thing you get as part of the online support group that's a $500 value. And this is where you share questions, ideas, get support every day, not only from your peeps, but also from me as well. I'm in there all the time. You do get email access to me during the program. I check personally. I don't have a VA or anyone respond. I am a very hands-on person because that's how I feel people learn from me best, right? I'm just very, very hands-on. The base program value is about $8,000. Now, you're not going to pay that, but I want you to understand the full price before we go forward, okay? I want to share with you, addition to the program, some of the bonuses. The first bonus is you get a one-on-one review of your sales presentation. This is you and me alone. We review your sales presentation. I coach you. I show you. We dissect it. We tweak it. We practice it so that you can perfect it. And I will review that presentation in advance. I will write notes so that when I get on that one-on-one call with you, I'm super prepared so we can maximize our time together. I'm going to use my X-ray vision literally to see what you're missing. And I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to show you. So I like to, you could see, I like to give examples. I would say, try saying it like this. So telling and showing are 2 very different things. I really do show you how to approach things. Let's see, showing where the magic happens. Once you know it, you will never forget it. And the other thing, because we practice it live, remember, practice is what makes perfection. I know not perfection, but we get really good at it. Once you know it, you know it. It's in your bones, guys. And it's just how you're going to do business going forward. The communication style assessment, there's a whole little mini training within the program. That bonus is a value of $1,000. You're going to clearly understand your style, the strengths, the blind spots, and you're going to start learning how to ID and speak directly into the communication of the prospect. And again, you'll be able to do that within, you'll get so good that at first it'll probably take you about 30 seconds to judge and understand the client. By the time we're done, you'll have it down to the first 5 or 10 seconds that you'll be modifying to the client's style. We'll be integrating, and this is the other cool thing. I just want everybody to understand your CSA, your communication style. I intertwine that over the entire 10-week module. So you will live and breathe it, and you'll be sick of me telling you about your styles. And the cool thing by the end, you're going to be telling me, this is where I need to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that superpower is for you. Okay. You will each get private one-on-one, a 1-hour coaching call with me. Value of that is $700. Here's the deal. I offer that during the 10 weeks. You could schedule it anytime you want so that we could really dig into anything that you feel like, Con, I'm really still missing that, resistance layer number 3 or resistance layer number 5. So I will leave that to you. I do recommend that you use it towards the end of the program so you can really get a full picture of everything. So you know where your biggest deficit is. And that's where I want to dig in and help you even further. Also, you get the subscription to the Art of Sales Mastermind. It's a value of a $1,200 value. You get 6 months of that. It's an interactive group coaching call, mastermind connections as a bonus for joining the objectionless buyer sales system. It's all facilitated by me, and that's another bonus I'm offering. And then the last one, I mentioned this before, the telephone sales, Zoom, call planner, and workbook. It's a self-paced program. It will help you get organized for all your prospect conversations, and we'll address it both from the phone, in-person, Zoom, conference calls, any way that you're meeting with your clients. Because the objective is, remember that first layer, if you're not prepared, you're already shooting yourself in the foot. So it becomes your template and roadmap that you can use over and over again with every client. Again, we customize the roadmap for you. It doesn't matter what my roadmap looks like. We have to tap into yours. So the total value of the program is $12,400. Now, if you're like most people, you want to make more sales. Your next question is going to be, all right, Con, what's this going to cost me now? And that's a really good question. So you're probably the only person who knows how much time, money, and effort it's costing you. I made you do that little analysis and I asked you to write it down. Remember, I said, don't put it in the chat because it's personal. Some of you were saying, yikes, I don't like the numbers, right? So the objectionless buyer sales system, we got to get it rocking and rolling and working for you. Not knowing what to say, when to say it is extremely expensive, guys. Trust me, I have been there and I have paid my dues, and only you know how much this is costing you. And you wrote that number on the paper. So just so we're clear, the whole package is over $12,000. And here's another thing for those of you that know me, know this, they're real dollar amounts. I go through so many of these training programs and you look and you think, oh my God, they're worth $10,000 an hour. Really? Are you? So my numbers are not inflated. They are real numbers that I charge my clients. Just realize that you're getting that 39 years of experience of training and coaching. And that I believe that's priceless piece of the puzzle that you get, because you really get all of me during that 10 weeks and really beyond. So the cost of the objectionless buyer sales system is going to cost you either, because I want to make this affordable, 3 payments of $797, or I'm a saver. I like coupons. So you can save $394 and just make one single payment of $1997. So if you're on board and you think this is exactly what I've been looking for, I want 2021 to just be a rock star year, go to objectionless.com and choose your payment option. The other thing I do want to mention is I want to work with people who want to move the needle, get a return on investments, and kick some butt out there and show up bigger and serve bigger. So your purchase is backed by, if you're not happy, I am not happy either, 100% satisfaction guarantee. So I give you 30 days. So in that 30 days, you really get to use me, touch me, feel me, not in a weird way, people. But you really get to understand the program. And if you don't see how the system is going to help you, and you won't, hopefully you make back that investment plus, 10, 20 times that. I promise I don't want to keep your money, and I'll give you a full refund. All I ask is that you show up for the calls and you do all the homework assignments. You have to put the effort in. Otherwise, that's not fair to you, and that's not fair to me. So 30-day money back guarantee, and I will stand by that. So if you're serious about making more sales, please join us. I know you won't be disappointed, and I get super excited. I'm a dork. Yes, I get excited when I get new people in the program, and I'm going to be so delighted to work with each of you. It's just exciting. So now I want to finish up before we run out of time. We have a few minutes. So I do want to cover, as promised, the fifth layer. Okay. So the fifth layer, let's break down that last layer of resistance. That's the value layer. That's where the client sees that you see the value of them and you're offering value back to them. Hopefully my offer is a value added for you. So you have to demonstrate that you're offering the best possible solution for the prospect's exact situation. The other thing I want you to learn and understand is whenever I create a program or whenever I work with a client, I don't just want to satisfy whatever your situation is here and now. I want to be a planning partner. So I'm all about building the relationship for the long term. So most of my clients, like one of my clients, I've been working with them for 16 years. They actually became the #1 bank in their region in 2018 because we developed this really dynamic culture. So it's not just, well, what can I do for my client today? It's how can I be a planning partner for them in the future? Again, they'll seek you out whenever they have an event or some type of change in their life. You will become top of mind and you will become their planning partner. So just over and over and over again, you'll get repeat business. So this is where you literally make your presentation. Now you're only going to make the presentation if, and this is where the integrity, right, and the love, care, and respect comes from, guys. So if you're completely sure that this person is the perfect fit for you and what you're offering, and they're ready for it, then you ask for the business. Now, there is too much about the offer and the presentation. It's a lot to unpack here, okay? But I do want you to understand two things before our time today ends. Number one, you will understand when to make the offer. The other piece of it is you'll understand how to make the offer. So number one, when to make the offer is one of the biggest places where I just see people kind of fumbling and making mistakes, and that's where they drop the old ice cream cone. When you make the offer, and this is important too, 3 things are going to happen at this point when you're with the client. One, the client is saying to you, holy crap, how fast can we get this sucker going? I need you right here, right now, immediately. Where have you been my whole life? That's number one. They're ready to do it. Second one, you say to the client, hey, listen, you got a lot going on over here. You're not ready for me yet. I'd like you to write those words down. They're very powerful. You're not ready for me yet. So what we're going to do is you and I, we're going to chat. We're going to talk. You're going to keep me abreast of what you're doing over here. Once that's done, 3 months from now, a month from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever it is, you and I, that's when we lock and load and move forward. So one, you ask for the business. They're ready to rock and roll. 2, you're not ready for me yet. We need to do X, Y, Z, or put this in place beforehand. And the third one is you say to the client, I'm not the right fit for you. You need to meet my colleague, Michael, or you need to meet my colleague, Jillian. You're introducing them to someone else. And I want you to understand the power of this, guys, because referrals, using referral partners is really critical. My whole career, I live off of referrals. I don't make cold calls. I don't believe in cold calls. That's another whole conversation. But when you get to this point and you start referring others, those referrals start coming to you back in droves. And again, it's that law of reciprocity. So I want you to be mindful of that. I'm going to get the business right here, right now. You're not ready for me, or I'm not the right person. You need to meet my colleague. They're the only 3 things that should happen. Now, notice I did not say objection. Once you perfect and get this system down and break down all 5 layers of buyer's resistance, you will never get another objection again in your life. And that's a promise. Okay. So now one last point I want to make, and I kind of mentioned this, but I want to mention it again. Most times I find that people who are unsure, people who are hesitating, people who are leaving money on the table, right? You're in your head. After learning the program, it's going to be in your bones, guys. I'm telling you, you're not going to be like, I'm preparing mode now. Wait, CSA. I have to communicate. I have to shift and modify. That's not what's going on. It's a flow of a conversation. You live and you breathe it. It's in your bones, and you're not questioning yourself and second guessing yourself anymore. Okay. So the one last thing I want to do for you is, I think you can see that this really is, it's no small task, number one, to eliminate the 5 layers of buyer's resistance. So that's the first thing. And again, I can spend hours unpacking it, but I do think you understand the importance of the 5 layers. And I just want to go through the package one more time. And I think Marcy put it up here for me. Yes. So the full package is 9 modules. You get the workbook, the videos, all of those things, the group coaching calls. Program is $4,000. The 10 group coaching calls is $3,000. Online support through the group, $500. A lot of interaction there. We learn from each other. Email access to me. Again, I personally respond. I don't have you on a bot or anything like that. Sales presentation review. That's you and me, baby. We get on a Zoom call and we break it down. That's $1,000 value. The communication style training, that's $1,000. That one in and of itself, holy smokes, it's going to change your life. The private one-on-one coaching call is worth $700. Again, that's for you to choose anytime during the program. 6 months mastermind bonus, $1,200. And then that free, self-paced workshop where you'll customize your roadmap. That's a $500 value. So again, the 3 payments of $797, or feel free to take that $394 discount and pay the 1 payment of $1997.